Netflix will release around 700 original TV shows and movies in 2018. The industry simply doesn't have enough talent to staff all these productions, leading to the creation and publication of terrible and controversial content. 13 Reasons Why and Insatiable are two of the most controversial Netflix shows with loud media outrage due to their misrepresentation of mental health.
Hey, it's Hannah. Hannah Baker. Settle in, because I'm about to tell you the story of my life. More specifically, why my life ended. And if you're listening to this tape, you're one of the reasons why.
If any one of us would have still been friends with her, she'd be alive today.
13 Reasons Why portrays suicide as something that is purely the fault of others, dramatizing the event and circumstances surrounding it, creating a sheen of romanticism and glamorization of suicide. This harms not only those who suffer from depression or other mental illnesses, but harms all society as it spreads false stereotypes and lures people into a false representation of suicide and depression.
A couple of years ago when 13 Reasons Why came out, there was this huge hype around it. Everybody was super excited because they're like, wow, they're gonna start portraying mental health in a real and honest way. And then all the people with mental health problems were like, I'm excited but simultaneously terrified. The main problem was romanticizing it. It was a mess, man. First of all, they made revenge suicide a thing, which is always a horrible idea to ever portray that in the media ever. Second of all, they didn't follow the Mental Health Association's guidelines for how you're supposed to talk about it in a way that's not triggering and doesn't influence other people to commit suicide too. So showing all the graphic violence of it and promoting the idea that that Hannah was some kind of tragic hero that and everybody else was at fault. That's the absolute last thing anybody who suffers from depression wants to hear. I think by showing it that way, for me as someone who has suffered from depression, it's really painful to see it like that. It took the focus away from the actual mental illness and it put it on events and it put it on people, which is not the right thing because suicide and depression are caused by chemical imbalances which are triggered or whatever, but at the end of the day it's an illness. It's not some choice, some rational, logical choice that someone makes in order to inflict pain on people who hurt her. That's not how actual depressed people work.
Netflix also dove into the concept of eating disorders. A major depiction of this is shown in the show Insatiable. This show has examples of binge eating, not to mention the large amounts of fat shaming included in the show. Insatiable is targeted at an audience of tweens, an age where people are highly susceptible to developing eating disorders. These types of mental illnesses are often brushed off as a phase or even characterized as diet plans or healthy. Netflix continues the cycle of this way of thinking in the show.
The entire storyline is problematic in terms of how it addresses obesity and body image.
You got $5? How about that candy bar? It's not like you need it, fatty.
The basic plot is about an overweight high schooler who gets punched in the face by a homeless man after he steals her chocolate bar, of course. She has to have her mouth wired shut and, due to an all-liquid diet, ends up losing a ton of weight and emerging thin and beautiful after her recovery.
Well, what happened to settling?
Pretty girls don't have to settle.
At least 30 million people of all ages and genders suffer from an eating disorder in the US. Every 62 minutes, at least one person dies as a direct result from an eating disorder. In fact, eating disorders have the highest mortality rate of any mental illness. This is a real problem in the world. We should be doing something to improve the situation instead of transferring it into low-quality entertainment.
I think that college students have a lot of influence over social media, and there are a lot of activists on the college and high school level. So I think the important thing for every single human being, but especially people college students, make sure they're informed and that they stand up to and educate people who aren't informed. You need to call people out for talking about it in the wrong way, encourage people with mental illness to talk to other people, continue to offer yourself as somebody to talk to, and continue to give your opinions about stuff like this online. Filmmakers in the industry are constantly evolving to try and capture their audience the best. And if the audience wants a better portrayal of mental health, then the industry will need to evolve to fill the audience's needs. So you just need to be vocal about what you want them to do. Make a crisis. Make make a crisis about it so that the film industry and the TV industry and anybody who creates content about mental health is forced to reform and forced to act in a responsible way. Maybe they should be government regulated. That's something that's hard to get across. They're not government regulated. They're profit regulated. And if they can't make a profit sensationalizing and degrading mental illness, then they won't do it. So I think it's just really important to put your money and your voice into people who are doing it right.